When my husband found out I was trying to start my own business, he told me I was wasting my time and ruining our family. In a fit of rage, he kicked me out of our home and told me to never come back. As I left, he smirked and said, "You'll fail like you always do." But what he didn't know was that I was already building a future without him, one that would leave him begging for a piece of my success. I was the quiet one, the dependable one, the one who put family first. For years, I swallowed my own ambition because I thought that's what a good wife did. I thought that if I supported him, he'd support me when the time came. But I was wrong. I met Eric when I was 24. I just graduated from UNC Charlotte with a communications degree and was working as a receptionist at a mid-sized law firm downtown. He was 31, already in commercial real estate, making six figures, driving a silver BMW. I remember thinking he was the most confident man I'd ever met. He took me to rooftop bars, expensive restaurants, talked about legacy and building something together. I felt like I was being chosen for something bigger than myself. We married a year and a half later. I moved into his townhouse in Ballantyne. I stopped working 6 months after that, when I got pregnant. He said, "There's no reason for both of us to be stressed. I've got us. You focus on the baby." And at first, I believed him. I had Claire at 26. I became a full-time mom while Eric worked long hours. He was successful, I won't lie. By 35, he was managing major commercial deals and closing six-figure commissions. But he also started talking to me differently. Subtle at first. Little things. "You wouldn't understand, it's business stuff. You've been out of the workforce too long. I wish you took more interest in what I do." I ignored it. I told myself I was lucky, that I should be grateful. But inside, I was starting to feel invisible. By the time Claire was 10, I was drowning in the routine: school drop-offs, groceries, cleaning, dinner, repeat. I wasn't miserable, but I was empty. I started going to the library just to be around adults. That's where I found a free workshop on starting an Etsy store. I signed up without telling Eric. That first night after the workshop, I stayed up till 3 a.m. sketching out ideas. I'd always had a thing for journals. Custom planners, bullet journals, gratitude books. I made a few prototypes, listed them under the name Stillwater Stationery, and, to my surprise, people actually bought them. At first, it was maybe $300 a month. I kept it all to myself. I reinvested every dime into better materials, better designs. I spent nights learning SEO, branding, fulfillment. I didn't take a paycheck. I just kept building. By month 6, I had over 3,000 orders and several influencers reaching out. I started building an email list. I even got my own small workspace, a corner of the attic Eric never used. That's when he found out. He was looking through our shared laptop for something and found my emails. At first, I didn't realize anything was wrong. I came home from picking up Claire and walked into the kitchen to find him standing there, phone in one hand, printouts in the other. He looked like he'd just caught me cheating. "What the hell is this?" he snapped, waving the papers in my face. I froze. Then I told him, calmly. I said I'd started a small business, that it was doing well, that I had plans to expand, and no, I hadn't used his money or asked for anything from him. He lost it. "You're using MY House, MY Wi-Fi, my time. You lied to me. You're neglecting our child to chase some hobby." I tried to defend myself, but he wouldn't let me get a word in. He just kept yelling about how I'd embarrassed him, how I was wasting time, how nobody gives a damn about your stupid journals. Then he dropped the bomb. "I want you out. Tonight." I thought he was bluffing, but he wasn't. He walked out, came back an hour later, and handed me 2 duffel bags. "You're not taking Claire," he said coldly. "You don't even have a place to go." I looked him dead in the eye and said, "Watch me." As I walked out the door, he smirked. "You'll fail like you always do." That line stayed with me. It burned a hole in my chest. It followed me to the cheap rented room I found on a Facebook moms group. It echoed in my head every night. I packed orders on the floor with nothing but a space heater and a folding table. But it also lit a fire. I got a part-time job at a coffee shop while I built the business during off hours. I took Claire on weekends when I could. I stayed quiet, but I documented everything. The eviction, the messages, the way he withheld money and used our daughter as leverage. A year later, Stillwater Stationery was pulling in 5 figures a month. I had 2 contractors. I had a real workspace. I had repeat clients, corporate orders, my own LLC, and a lawyer on retainer. That's when I got the message. It was from Eric. No apology. Just a casual, saw the news feature. Stillwater looks like it's doing well. Maybe we could talk sometime. That's when I realized. He never believed in me. He just didn't want me to do better than him. And now that he wanted a piece. I didn't respond to his message. Not right away. Part of me wanted to. Not to reconcile, but to throw everything in his face. To show him the workspace I'd built. The new SUV I paid for in full. The smiling photos of Claire at the private school I now funded alone. But another part of me, the part that had walked out of that house with 2 bags and a broken heart, knew better. Eric didn't reach out again for weeks. But then I got a call from Claire's school. Apparently, he'd shown up unannounced, trying to take her out for lunch. He hadn't cleared it with anyone. She was confused, embarrassed, and told the staff she didn't want to go with him. That night, I got a second message. You're turning her against me. She's my daughter too. Don't forget that. I saved the message and forwarded it to my lawyer. It only got worse from there. He started showing up at Claire's soccer games, sitting by himself on the bleachers, never acknowledging me, but always loud enough for people to hear him say things like, her mother's too busy playing businesswoman to raise a kid. At first, I ignored it. But then, one night after a game, Claire sat in my car, quiet, and said, "Why does Dad keep saying you're using me?" I lost it. Not in front of her, but inside, something snapped. Eric wasn't just trying to claw his way back into my life. He was trying to poison my daughter's mind while doing it. So I pushed harder. I hired a PR consultant. I built a new product line. I got featured in a regional Women in Business magazine. Orders doubled. I started shipping internationally. I launched a mentorship program for women starting over after divorce. Then came the final twist. Eric filed for partial custody. Out of nowhere. Claimed I was unstable, emotionally manipulative, and putting business before family. His attorney even tried to argue that my late-night work schedule was disruptive to Claire's development. It should have shaken me. Maybe years ago it would have. But this time I had evidence. I had messages, receipts, photos, school records showing he hadn't contributed a single dollar in over a year. Testimonies from Claire's teachers, my accountant, my lawyer. The court date was set. I showed up in a navy suit I bought with my own money. Claire was with my sister in the waiting room. Eric looked tired, smaller somehow. He wasn't wearing the Rolex I bought him years ago. I knew he'd sold it. His lawyer tried to smear me, but I stayed calm. My lawyer was sharp, focused, and backed by real documentation. After reviewing the case, the judge not only denied his custody request, but ordered back child support, plus half the legal fees. That moment should have felt like the end. But I knew Eric. He wasn't done. And neither was I. Because the next move would be mine. After the court ruling, I thought Eric would finally back off. He'd lost the custody case, been ordered to pay back child support, and had no real foothold in Claire's life anymore. But I underestimated how much he resented seeing me succeed. 2 weeks later, I got a notice from the IRS. Apparently, someone had submitted an anonymous report claiming I was committing tax fraud. That I'd been hiding income, laundering money through fake mentorship programs, and exaggerating expenses on fabricated vendors. I felt sick. I sat there holding the letter, heart racing, hands shaking. Because even though I knew it was all false, I also knew how long an audit could drag on. How a whisper of scandal, true or not, could hurt a growing business. My lawyer moved fast. We cooperated fully, turned over every file, every receipt. Still, it drained time, energy, and focus. I had to pause 2 major deals. A speaking engagement got canceled, without explanation. I didn't have proof Eric had done it. but I knew it was him. Then, not even a month later, my business Instagram got hacked.
Just gone.
15,000 followers, all wiped out overnight. A flood of fake one-star reviews hit my Etsy page. Some of them even accused me of child neglect and fraud. I spent 2 weeks in damage control. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. For the first time in a long time, I felt scared again, like I was back in that kitchen, him yelling, telling me I'd never make it without him. But something had changed in me. I wasn't the woman he kicked out. I wasn't the scared housewife who thought she had to ask for permission to want more. So I got louder. I made a video. A simple one. No tears, no drama. Just me, sitting in my office, telling the truth. About building a business as a single mom. About surviving a controlling marriage. About being falsely reported and digitally attacked and still pushing forward. It went viral. Over 2 million views in 72 hours. My inbox was flooded with support, orders, interview requests. One of the biggest national women's networks invited me to be a keynote speaker. My website sales tripled. My mentorship program grew by 300%. And then came the last twist. I got a call from a young woman who said she used to work with Eric, his assistant, about a year before he threw me out. She said she'd been following my journey quietly and couldn't stay silent anymore. She sent me emails, copies of messages where Eric joked about shutting my wife down before she embarrasses me, where he said he'd burn her little hobby to the ground if she stepped out of line. I forwarded them straight to my lawyer, because now I had proof. And the next move wouldn't just be personal. It would be legal. Once I had those emails from his former assistant, I knew exactly what I had to do. I brought them straight to my lawyer, and she didn't waste a second. Within days, we filed for a restraining order. Not just for me, but for Claire too. We submitted the emails, the child support delays, the smear campaign, the IRS tip-off, the social media hacking, all of it. He tried to deny it, of course. Claimed the emails were taken out of context, that he was just venting, that I was blowing things out of proportion to punish him for the past. But this time, the judge didn't believe a word. The restraining order was granted. He was legally barred from contacting me, Claire, or anyone associated with my business. He couldn't show up at her school, her games, or my events. One violation, and he'd be facing jail time. But that wasn't the end, because I wanted real accountability. So my lawyer sent the same packet of evidence, the emails, the harassment trail, the custody battle transcripts, to the North Carolina Real Estate Commission. See, Eric still had his license, still pretended to be the polished, successful broker, despite the fact that his reputation had quietly tanked over the last year. But in those emails, he admitted to tampering with my business, on company time, using work resources, and targeting a private citizen. That was enough. A few months later, I got the confirmation. His license was suspended pending review. He'd lost his main brokerage deal and had to step away from real estate indefinitely. The man who once said I was wasting my time, who laughed when I left with 2 bags, now unemployed, publicly disgraced, and without a daughter who wanted anything to do with him. And me? Stillwater Stationery is now a 6-figure business with 2 employees and a waitlist for custom design packages. I speak at women's entrepreneur events all over the South. Claire, now 13, helps with packaging orders during school breaks and even designed her own mini planner line that sold out in a week. One day, out of nowhere, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. It was from Eric. Inside was a single sheet of paper. It said, "I was wrong. I see that now. I hope someday you'll let me be part of Claire's life again."
I didn't respond.
I folded the letter, slid it into my records file, and went back to work. Because I built all of this from nothing. From the floor of a rented room. With shaking hands, late nights, and a fire he helped light when he tried to crush me.
And now?
Now I don't need to scream to be heard. I just let my success speak for me.